Well, we all asked the question, the up and down roller coaster ride that was the Celtics regular season. What would happen when they got to playoff time? Well, elevation as a team, defense, offense, efficiency, 4 wins, a sweep, and they move on, awaiting the Bucks should they get one more win against Detroit. We'll have the coaches and players, all the festivities. Casey Stern, Coach Tom Thibodeau is here with us, Smitty, and of course, Tough Juice. If you can't, UConn. Guys, there's a lot to get to here, but let's start with, Coach, the importance of getting this done in this way. What does it mean for the Celtics to, on the road, in a Game 4, close it out the way you saw them in the fourth quarter?
Well, I think the big thing, you have to handle your business, and it is important because when you look at the Milwaukee-Detroit series, that's 3-0, and if they end their series, you don't want your series to be dragged out where they have a rest advantage. So I think that's critical. And what we saw today was they loaded up pretty good, Indiana did, on Kyrie and Al, and then you had Gordon Hayward, you had Marcus Morris, you had Terry Rozier really step up and play great for them. Their bench gave them terrific play, and then Al Horford made so many good plays, moving the ball, and also his defense was terrific.
You know, you talk about the bench not only scoring, but the efficiency, Smitty, in which they shot the basketball, and it's ball movement. What's the one thing people said? Well, there's not enough communicating. It doesn't feel like there's a togetherness. I know it's only 4 games, but we're seeing a lot more of that in the playoffs, aren't we, here from Boston?
Yeah, we are. Not only the ball movement, they had body movement. That's the one thing I love. They were running off their screens. It was beautiful. We were all watching it. Just seeing any team execute offensively like that, where the ball is popping, you're making the right play. You can miss the shot. You're still happy as a fan of the game where people play the game the right way, and they executed. They got the shots they wanted. They had defensive balance if they missed. And then they loaded up, and they, like Coach said, defensively, they have gotten to that level that they were playing last year in the playoffs.
And what you also like is people talked about Kyrie. We know how dominant he could be, and we saw that in some plays. But there was acquiescing, right, to everybody else in the right spot. And I think Gordon Hayward, you got to almost start there, Karam, because they're not 7-0 this season when he scores more than 20 points. He was as efficient as anybody on the floor. And that sequence we showed coming in, where he basically backed it all the way out, wanted it, cleared out everybody, that confidence seems to be at a level where it hasn't been all year for him.
I feel like Gordon Hayward gave them that momentum swing that was much needed in this game in particular. You know, Indiana Pacers leading every game at a halftime going into every game in this series. And they changed the momentum by Gordon Hayward being in position, knocking down shots. He had a couple dunks, a couple that didn't even count, but just to see that explosion, you touched on it. They're looking for him. They're trying to find him because they see that he has his legs back, he's confident, he's reacting. He's not, like playing safe basketball. He's just playing loose and out there being extremely aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, maybe his worst moment of the game, probably. The posterizing from Miles Turner. I said afterwards, one of the things that you noticed, though, is he didn't get out of the way. I mean, that was Gordon Hayward who was under there willing to take the body. He was going to the paint all the time. Coach, you mentioned Al Horford, a guy who is statistically, we cannot express enough how it's not in the box score for him. A coach's dream, right? What did you see from him?
Well, his impact on winning is so great. I don't know, he's 4 for 18 in the game. His rebounding, his defense, his movement of the ball, his screening, everything is for the team. And that's what makes him so valuable. His stats never reflect the value that he brings to the team. And, we saw some of the highlights with Gordon. They forced the switch, and a lot of that was a result of the screening by Al. And then Gordon, I thought, did a great job of reading the switch and lining guys up to attack him.
Yeah, Smitty, you see here, this is what we saw this all night, really. They'd swing it the other way, that extra pass from Al Horford.
Well, coaches love side to side, getting the ball off one side. I mean, not a lot of dribbling, just movement, and the guys cutting at the right time and then creating space, not off the bounce, just off your execution, your offense. Guys got uncontested wide open threes. That's what you want if you're coach and staff, seeing the way they play down the stretch offensively.
The other thing is you sit there and you look at it. We're going to talk a lot about this matchup against the Bucks, which most likely we'll see it to play out that way for the second year in a row in the playoffs. But we wonder who else can make big shots, right? We always talk about that. Philadelphia, big shots. Well, with this team, have we underrated when you look at Morris how many times tonight? Hayward, Scary Terry, who did it multiple times. When they're swinging that ball, they're trusting whoever it goes to.
Well, they did a remarkable job by winning by committee. And I think that, when you look at Morris, a guy that's hit big-time shots throughout the course of the season, throughout the course of his career, and you know what Kyrie Irving can do. And then Gordon Hayward, now being back to rare form, look like he's back to his old self. He's being explosive. He's doing all the things that necessary. And then Tatum, you know, he wants the moment. Like, he's a guy that said, look, he's spoken in existence. I'm going to be an all-star next year. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be, you know, special and live up to all expectations that I placed upon myself and that the league see that I can possibly become. So it's just amazing to see that versatility that squad has.
Yeah, and there's a lot of trust, and it all begins with what Kyrie presents in terms of setting that tone because of the playoff experience. What do you think of the way he played, Coach, in this series? Sometimes more dominant than others, but other times consciously trying to do his best to facilitate and help.
Well, I think he's got a great feel for the game, and he's seen just about every defense that there is. His ability to create great offense for his team is at an elite level. The way he can finish, the way he can make plays. But because of the attention that he was getting, it was creating a lot of easy offense for everyone else. And the thing that the Celtics are doing right now, they're trusting each other. When Gordon got going and they double-teamed him without hesitation, he hit the open man, and that's winning basketball. That's what you have to do to win in the playoffs.
It used to be, we would say it about the Golden State Warriors as if they were the only team who could do that. It used to be just basketball. The Celtics showed that, but also collectively at team defense, right? The communication. Yeah. As Smitty, we look at some of the plays defensively because Pacers did a good job. They hung in this game for a long time, giving them a lot of credit. Underman without Oladipo. But the Celtics were doing a nice job communicating and closing out on shots to help.
Yeah, they were. And I just, you know, looking at their starting lineup, at times you go, the NBA plays a lot of small ball, but Baines, Horford, that's pretty big. Tatum and also Brown on the wings. You're talking about length, and then you got Morris coming off the bench and Gordon Hayward. They have guys that can switch. They have guys that can play guys, even smaller guys. So I think they do a great job of communicating and then having the ability with long guys that can make plays.
Brad Stevens said he was looking for his first sweep as a coach. Got one. First one for the Celtics since 2011. He is at the podium.
Coach, Mark D'Amico, Celtics.com. When you look back at the 4 games of this series, it looked like you guys won in a bunch of different ways. How can that contribute to maybe your overall success moving forward in this postseason?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing is you have to earn it every time you play the Pacers because they play so hard and they play so together. And, you know, that's the number one thing that when you get into the playoffs, if you take your foot off the gas at any point in time, you're in trouble. So, you know, I appreciate the fact that, you know, the way that our guys play, especially late in games, the way they execute it all the way through. But we can still get a little bit better in the middle of the game, and but we're happy to win this series. We thought it was going to be really tough coming in, and like I've said all along, they're a physical, tough team that I think plays basketball the right way, and I appreciate them for that.
Right, Gary Washer, Boston Globe. Hayward seemed to break out in the fourth quarter. I mean, and the meaning for him to come back here completely healthy in front of his home fans and just play well. I mean, you obviously can share that. I mean, what's that like for him?
I mean, it's you know, he can better answer that, but it's been a long process to get back to where he probably feels as good as he does now, and we knew that going in. We said all year, 20, 40, 60, 80. Every 20 games, he's going to be a little bit better. And he was big at the end of the game tonight for sure. That three-point play kind of pushed the lead out, and then obviously made some shots and made some plays, and did a good job.
Coach Kevin Brockway, CNHI. Coach, 7 guys in double figures. How did that balance kind of help you tonight throughout the course of the game?
Well, Al and Kyrie had really struggled from the field. And, we were down 2 at halftime. I think those guys were, 3 or 14 or something like that combined. So you felt pretty good about our chances going in the second half. We just keep playing the right way. And we've got a lot of guys that can make plays and make plays for others. What the best part of the end of the game is that they were locked into Kyrie. They ran and doubled him. They doubled him off picks. They were very focused on him, and he just kept getting rid of it to the next guy, and the next guy had to make the right read and play. The ball whipped around the way it's supposed to, and so that was really encouraging. I think we're a hard team to double if we're really moving it like that.
John Corrales, MassLive.com. Terry Rozier had a pretty good series, especially defensively.
Yeah, really good.
Can you just speak to what it meant to have him step up in the face of not having Marcus Smart?
Yeah, and he was really good today. But no, I think all year long, we all know, you watch him play in the playoffs enough, like he can go to a level physically and competitively that can be effective, especially at this time of the year. And I'm really happy for him. I don't think he ever eclipsed 22 minutes or 23 minutes in the series ever, but every minute he played felt impactful. We all know what he can do when he's given more opportunity. So for him to just stay the course all year and be ready for this time of the year to make a big difference is kudos to him.
Coach Mark D'Amico, Celtics.com again. You talk about Terry's defense there, but overall, the team's defense was pretty strong through these 4 games. Where do you think you guys have progressed the most on that end over the last 1, 2, 3 weeks?
Yeah, I thought today we weren't quite as good, Mark, but I thought that for the most part we've just been a little bit more technically sound. So I think that's the one thing we're clearly playing with there's a lot of meaningfulness on every possession. We're playing the right urgency, all that stuff, although I didn't think at the start of the second half we were. But most of the 4 games we certainly were.
Steve Belpet, Boston Herald. Brad, you came into the year and everyone was raving about your depth. Today's game pointed it out really in great relief, the shooting you got off the bench.
Yeah.
Is that just a matter of tightening the rotation or just, guys getting the looks today?
Well, it's a matter of doubling Kyrie, right? So, which I totally understand, by the way, because he's so good at the end of the games. But if he's going to do that, he just has to make the next right play, and then everybody else can do what they do best. But I think, we've talked about our depth as a positive. We knew coming into the year it was going to be a challenge. We didn't always talk about it that way, but it's pretty clear from day one that it was going to be a challenge. But if it all comes together, it can be a positive, and it's, we're still hopefully trending upward. We don't, we want to be playing better each time we take the court.
John Corrales, MassLive.com. Jason Tatum had 12 free throw attempts today. Beginning of the season, he took a lot of mid-range shots, wasn't getting to the free throw line. What do you see from him now in the playoffs as far as shot profile, aggressiveness?
I thought that today he had a real look about him to get to the paint, get to the rim, get to the line. I think that there were other times where he got guys off of him, and when he gets guys off of him and he goes with great pace into that pull-up, that's a good one. And then there are other times where guys really crowd him, and those are tougher. I thought today when guys really crowd him, he drove by them, and that's what you need to do, and then make the right play at the rim, which is easier said than done against these guys. Miles Turner creates a lot of issues at the rim. Thank you.
Brad Stevens and the Celtics. First sweep for the franchise since 2011. No Victor Oladipo, but there to cheer his team on. Kyrie looking for the brooms. 8-0 C's run to start the game.
Oh, my.
Darren Collison would bounce back. We knew he'd have to be big, Karan. He was early. 13-0 Indiana run.
Airspace, knocking down the shot.
Gordon Hayward with authority. Inside. Back and forth we go. Tyreek Evans. The save, transitions, scary Terry, Smitty.
Yeah, I thought he's been playing extremely well, getting some extended minutes, especially defensively. I love the way he plays. Be careful, Gordon.
Oh, we get a replay of that. Watch your head. Oh!
He didn't fall, though, Karan. He didn't fall.
He's still standing. Then Turner hits the jumper here. Inside, outside, a little finesse. Lead was 2 at the break for the Pacers. They're not going away. Thaddeus Young, those second chance points, they fought hard. Bogdanovich, who had 22 and 8. Nate's guys didn't quit, Coach, that's for sure.
No, they should be very proud of the season they had. With losing Victor and to play the way they did, they played as a team. They made up. You don't replace Victor with any individual player. It's got to be a team thing, and they did that.
Well, they got a deep team with the Celtics. Pacers trying to hang in. Tyreek Evans He had 21, and then the finish, the 15-3 run. There's that extra swing. Morris had 18, and Gordon Hayward is confident Karan as we've seen him this year.
That's winning basketball right there. Morris with the shot, Gordon Hayward recognizing the mismatch, sizing them up, cashing out.
Al Tatum, finish. He had 18 and 8. Jalen breaking out the brooms. They're not done, though. Another 3. They're 7-0 this season when Hayward has more than 20. He had 20. 7 of 9. 3 of 3 from 3. You like efficiency? I know coaches do. Victor wouldn't like this stat, but the bench for the Celtics tonight, how good? 18 of 26 with 49 points. That's pretty good. 18 of 26.
Yeah, you can't say enough about their bench.
Oof.
I think there's no drop-off. Those guys are starters. They play with a lot of toughness, and that's what you need in the playoffs. You can't overlook the toughness aspect of it.
Well, a lot of toughness from the Pacers. They hung in there. It's led, and their culture is set by their coach, Nate McMillan. Here he is after the loss.
Steve Belpet, Boston Herald. Nate, you guys did a really good job, obviously, crowding Kyrie and to an extent Al as well. How difficult is it when there are 3 guys come off the bench and start, hitting shots?
Well, they're a deep team, and they showed tonight. Irvin is not the only player. Only player on that roster. He does a lot of things for them, and they have solid players both in that first unit and their second unit. And those guys tonight, they stepped up. I felt like they've stepped up throughout this series. Morris had a big game the first game. Each night has been someone different, coming off the bench or, playing in that first unit. And Irvin does what he does, which is create for those guys. He's very capable of dominating a game one-on-one. When you're sending double teams, he's getting the ball out of his hands and trusting his teammates, and those guys are knocking down shots. So it's a huge challenge to try to cover them when they're playing so well.
John Corrales, MassLive.com. Terry Rozier was pretty good defensively off the bench. What did you see from him in that regard?
He's a solid backup guard. I mean, he had the experience, got the experience last season playing in the playoffs when they had injuries. Irvin is healthy now, and he's a guard that can come in and defend at an elite level. He allows Irving to play that off guard, and that poses a challenge because now you're moving Irving off the ball and moving him around. And Rozier is a guy who's capable of initiating the offense as well as setting the tone defensively in that second unit. So solid guard and tough-minded. Really likes I like the way he plays.
Coach Kyle Grand, Pacers.com. Can you just comment? I know it stings now, but can you just comment on how your team played this season and just overall what it means for these guys to play hard without their best player all year?
Our guys, the one thing I've just told them, thank you for the effort, because all season long and really since we got this group together last season, effort has not been a problem for us, regardless of who is in uniform. What injuries may occur. Our guys, they come out and give us everything they have every single day. I've never had to question this team on their effort. And if there's one thing that I think a coach wants is that his players show up every day to play. Our guys 1 through 15 did that. The guys that didn't get minutes and was on the inactive list. They kept themselves ready. We had a number of injuries this season where we had to have guys step in and play, and we was able to keep our head above water and finish 5th in the East. But I'm just appreciative of the effort that they gave us every single day. And tonight. We talked about leaving everything we had on the floor. I thought they did. We just went up against a team that was better.
Coach, to your left, Mark D'Amico, Celtics.com. I'm just curious, from an opposition's perspective, how have you seen the Celtics change to what you just saw over 4 games now in a playoff series versus maybe what you saw back in the early days when you faced them the first couple times this year?
Well, it's you know, we don't listen to all the conversation during the season about you know, things that go on with teams and what is happening in their locker room. We knew that this team, any of the teams that we faced going into the playoffs, whether it would have been Toronto or Philadelphia, Boston, you know, all of those teams, Milwaukee, all of those teams were going to be tough. You know, a lot of people were, you know, downplaying Boston as a team that would probably struggle going into the playoffs because of a lot of the stuff that happened during the season. That team was in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. We know that they have a lot of talent. They have a lot of depth. We knew that they would get it right come playoff time. And that rhythm, you know, Brad has done a good job of holding that team together. And now that they are in the playoffs, they're playing good basketball. You know, they, you know, unfortunate to lose Smart during the start of these playoffs, but that's a team with a lot of depth. Irvin is one of the top players in the league, and Tatum and Hayward and Morris and Horford and Rozier, all of those guys are solid players that you know, playing good basketball. And you know, the next opponent, they're going to see a good team.
Coach Tom Lewis, SB Nation. Aside from adding Victor, what did you learn from your team at the end of the season in the playoffs that should help direct the team in the offseason, get ready for next year?
Well, you know, it's I'm looking at my team, and we got 7, 8 free agents on our roster, and you know, we very well could look different next season. I just appreciate what our guys did for me and this coaching staff, you know, this season, and the effort that they gave. So, you know, what can we learn? I first need to figure out what my roster will look like next season. And, you know, we got some key guys in our starting unit as well as our second unit that are free agents. And, you know, now the work turns towards signing our guys and building this roster over again.
The Pacers not able to get it done. Obviously very shorthanded without Victor Oladipo. It's also not easy to stop that guy. We'll hear from Kyrie and the Celtics after a sweep. We come back.